Hey everybody, it's Nick Inman, founder of VolumeProfileTrader.com, and here's the update going into Thanksgiving weekend. And I think it's going to be pretty short and to the point, but the idea is that you want to be aware of what the professionals are thinking in the marketplace. And first things first, we did bounce off of this big volume here down towards 1340. I was expecting the point of control to hold around 1360. Pierced it by 20 points and then reversed, so that's fine, and we're seeing an upside move since. But what's important to know is, okay, this is a holiday week, and since we've been moving down for the last few months, really, this is a pretty obvious rally here, short covering or buyers, whatever the case may be. But it's important to be aware of a few things. The first thing is, it is a shortened holiday week, and the market participants, the professionals, are just not there. You can see the volume has just completely petered out since, let's see, the 16th. The volume has been light every day, and I think that's important. But what's also important is there's nothing that's changed in terms of the fundamental view, and I think you look at the fiscal cliff, and the only thing that the market's rallying on, assuming it's from that, is the idea that, okay, Washington realizes that they need to do something, they can't mess around with this, and they saw that through a market rally. So the market sold off after the election, looking forward to the fiscal cliff. Market's looking for certainty, it doesn't get it. And then all of a sudden when Washington says something positive, the market's reverse and you see a 4-day upside move. Now, with that being said, all they did was say that they would not let us down. And when has that ever been the right thing? And I think the point is that you don't get excited about this move to the upside. You want to stick with your discipline and realize we could easily see another push down towards 1360. After all, if you look at the SPY and not the S&P futures, you can see this huge gap that we saw. And unless if this gap is justified, which I really don't think it is, I think that we will eventually test those levels. So I do think there is an opportunity here to the short side. Wait for this week to end and wait for next week to really look for something more aggressive, because what we have here is just a low volume melt up, and I think that is an important aspect of what's going on here. The NASDAQ, you're getting a nice bounce off the value area low, but again, is this trend line, let's get the right tool for the right job, and this is going to be broadly drawn. Is this trend line still intact? 1, 2, 3, 4 times if you just connect the dots. So it looks like, sure, we have a little more upside, maybe 20 points maximum, and then we'll likely see some type of selling pressure. Now, with that said, I do think if there is any type of resolution in the fiscal cliff, if they really do get something done, and we get an opportunity, for example, in the NASDAQ around 25.45, I'm looking for a double bottom somewhere around these levels, and I think that's just kind of what's going on here in the market. If I look at it on an hourly chart, then I'm going to get a little more aggressive and say, okay, I want to see basically these recent lows hold. I want to see 25.67 or so hold on the NASDAQ, and the reason why is because we gapped above, well, we gapped obviously, but we gapped and continued higher into this high volume area. So far, support at these levels is the bottom of this high volume area, where it was also support back earlier this month. So if we do get some type of support, or excuse me, some type of deal done, then I do think you may want to be buying this weakness here, if we, assuming we get it. If that's not the case, and there is no resolution, then obviously you're going to be looking back towards the lows 2,500 or so on the NASDAQ, which makes me want to bring up Apple. And I think the point with Apple is if you get an opportunity, and you can see why I think that, here, let me delete all of these lines. If you get an opportunity in Apple to buy around the point of control for this current month, it could be a great opportunity. So what we're seeing here is just sideways consolidation going into Thanksgiving, and that's fine. Our highs were made at 572.70, which is the 20-day moving average, or just about. And you're seeing a little bit of resistance there. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But after this big spike down, do you want to be a buyer on the weakness? And I think that you do. Now, I could be totally wrong, and this thing could just roll over and continue going. Excuse me. But I would like to say that if you get an opportunity in Apple to buy around, sub 550, and you see a bounce, so that's what's important. You want to see a sell-off to 550, give or take $5, and then you want to see some type of bounce. When you see a bounce with good volume, I think that's what you want to take, especially if it's toward the end of the month or the beginning of next month. Let's go into the VIX. Let's go into a different chart so we can see it better. Let me delete these. All right, the VIX has completely been crushed. What was support in the VIX, which was, let's see, 1614 up to about, we can call it 1670, 1632. Basically, you have a zone of what was support earlier this month, or excuse me, earlier, like late last month, late October, early November. Now it's broken down. So what should that become? That should become resistance. So really, the time you want to be buying the market is when the VIX gets somewhere above 16, as long as it sells off below 17. So that's, I think, is your sweet spot, which makes me think, yeah, there's probably some more downside in this market, despite the fact that maybe short-term players are saying, okay, what was support should have been resistance. It wasn't. Now we see a reversal. I totally get that. I see that 1373. Just keep an eye on it. I think that's what's important. Let's see. Gold. Let's face it. We're all just waiting on the fiscal cliff. So this continues to consolidate sideways. Nothing too crazy about this. Oil, with anything with the Middle East, oil's going to do what it's going to do. But the 50-day moving average providing as resistance, and just take it for what it is. Just realize that the oil market is going to move completely on what the Middle East is saying. Oil inventories did come out, and the market did pop on that initially, then sold off. However, I think what's important is last month's value area high, value area low, which was resistance earlier this month. We broke above it, and what happens the next day, and this is important, it's important to recognize this, the next day we opened below those levels and then continued the sell-off. So that's a line in the sand that, hey, above 88.75 or so is complete resistance. We have a gap that we need to fill there. I see that. But right here, right now, we're grinding in this, what was a resistance. We're back in that level. So now I would be looking around 87 for a sell, and your target would be 86 down to around 85.25. And if you want to get aggressive, below 85, covering around 84.50. But I would just be looking for a short-term move. As long as 87 holds or 87-ish holds or so on the upside, then you can look down on oil. If we get above 87, then we're probably going back to 89 with the chance to fill that gap, which is around 89.40. Let's see. Facebook, really the first time I've covered this in terms of maybe an opportunity, but you're at a point here in Facebook where if this is a consolidation pattern, you place your stop below these lows, so around 2260 or so, you could have an upside play to 27, currently trading 24.36. Pretty decent move, pretty good opportunity. Risk reward's not great, but given where it is, up 5% today, if it closes strong, there's a likelihood that this could continue, and I think you want to pay attention to that. You want to be opportunistic when it comes to names like Facebook. Really, okay, it wouldn't be fair for me to finish this video and not cover the euro. Here we are at resistance. So far, so good, right? It's not rejecting from it, but if we do pop above, call it 128.50, and with some decent volume, there's a good opportunity that we could easily go another 30 points higher, 30 ticks, so we could see 129 pretty easily, and then up to basically from 129.23, which is the 50-day, up to the top Bollinger Band, 130, even 128.63 should be some resistance now that I'm looking at the monthly chart. So keep an eye on 128.63. This could be a little bull trap where they push it up to 128.63 or so, and then look to sell this thing off. So keep an eye on that also. And the dollar, the last thing. The dollar is looking like it wants to sell off from resistance. However, we're still moving higher here, and let it consolidate, let this week pass, and I think you will get an opportunity one way or the other in the market. That's why I think cash is the right position right now, overweight cash. Right now, we have a long position in Apple and a short position in SPY. I also have some other longer term positions that I don't really pay much attention to. ConocoPhillips is one where, let's get it on a daily chart, where I really just do not, this is a name that I see an upside bias towards for a long time. So I'm looking on a much bigger chart and seeing where this takes us. Let's see, also gold, obviously, and really that's it. Another trade that was successful that I'm actually kind of kicking myself for selling so early was Altria, where bought 31 calls December, sold them pretty early in the rally on Monday, around 32 or so, for 25% gains or so on the call, which it was a great trade, obviously, but you have a situation where this thing just continued to move higher, and now those calls were bought for 84 cents each, sold for $1.06 each, if I recall, and then now they're trading $1.80, I'm sure, or somewhere around those levels. So, anyways, that's it for this weekend update. Not too much to say. I will be gone on vacation from this afternoon up until Sunday evening, so you won't hear from me. But until then, have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you next time.